In January of 2022, over a training range in Alaska, an American F-22 passed within 43 miles of a Chinese surveillance balloon. The balloon spotted the F-22 visually. The F-22's radar saw the balloon from 124 miles away. The total cost of the takedown operation came to $400,000. The balloon itself was worth around $200,000. It wasn't the most expensive airborne target in history, but it was the first time the F-22 ever fired its weapons against a real target, and the only time the world saw, in the sky, the aircraft that 20 years ago rewrote the concept of air combat for every major military power. In 2026, every major country has its own fifth-generation fighter, or what they call one. The United States has two of them, Russia has one, China has two. South Korea, Turkey, Japan, Italy all have programs at different stages of readiness. Which one actually works in real combat? Which one costs more than the annual budget of a small country? And why is there one specific aircraft that has never been sold to anyone, even to countries that begged for it for 15 years? Today I'll tell you everything. Subscribe to support the channel. Every week a new ranking. 8 fifth-generation fighters of the world, ranked from worst to best. Japan once made the best fighter aircraft in the world. In 1942, the Mitsubishi Zero outmaneuvered the American Wildcat so completely that American pilots received a standing order: never engage a Zero one-on-one retreat and bring numerical superiority. That was the gold standard of its time. 80 years later, the Japanese tried to make something groundbreaking again, and so far history is repeating itself in reverse. The F-X program started in 2022 as a joint effort with the United Kingdom and Italy. The budget, $16 billion over 30 years. The goal, to replace the F-2, the F-15, and the Eurofighter with a single aircraft by 2040. The merging of 3 industrial schools, European and Asian, in one project for the first time. Today, the F-X exists only as concept renders and computer models in engineering departments. The engine is being designed, the avionics are at the prototype component stage. Stealth is being tested on radio frequency models. There's no flying prototype on the horizon for at least another 3 years. If anyone tells you Japan has a 5th-gen fighter, they're showing you a promise, not an aircraft. By the most optimistic estimates, serial production is still 9 years away. In 9 years, the F-X will be reclassified as 6th generation 7 times over if nothing changes in the partner country's politics. But somebody else decided not to wait 9 years, or even 3. They're already flying, just on someone else's heart. In February of 2024, the prototype of Turkey's Kaan fighter took off from Merted Air Base near Ankara. Turkish media wrote breakthrough. Erdogan that same day declared from the parliament floor that Kaan surpasses the F-35. The reality was hidden in the operating manual. The engines on the prototype were American General Electric F-110s, the same engines installed on Turkey's F-16 aircraft since 1986. The native engine, TR Motor TF-6000, is in development at TUSAES Engine Industries. A flying TF-6000 is promised by 2028. Until then, Kaan must fly on an American engine that the United States can stop supplying at any moment. Turkey was already kicked out of the F-35 program in 2019 for purchasing Russian S-400 systems. Serial production is targeted for 2028 or 29, but only if the domestic engine is ready. Foreign orders: Indonesia became the first international customer, and Pakistan is in active negotiations. These are countries that were either denied the F-35 or denied the Su-57. This is Turkey's political declaration of aerospace power, wrapped in metal. The aircraft flies, but it flies with an American heart, while it waits in line for its own. The next contestant from Korea decided not to even pretend that he has a full 5th gen. He honestly says he has 4.5. And surprisingly, there's an upside in that. The South Korean KF-21 Boramae took its first flight in July of 2022. By 2026, serial production has begun. The first batch is going to South Korea's own Air Force and to Indonesia, which contributed to the program with money and engineers. The Koreans do something almost no one else does. They openly state, Block 1 is 4.5 generation. The KF-21 has no internal weapons bay. All missiles hang from external pylons, the same as on an F-16, the same as on any modern fourth-generation fighter. Without an internal bay, stealth is impossible. External pylons create radar reflection that makes the aircraft visible from hundreds of miles away. The fuselage has stealth coating. There's no internal bay. The full 5th gen, Block 3, is promised by 2032 if Korean industry can deliver. The price tag, about $65 million per unit. That's 2.5 times cheaper than the American F-35. For that money, you get a modern 4.5 fighter with upgrade potential. For countries that need to retire their old F-16 fleets, an excellent option. The Koreans turned out to be the most honest in this list. They don't claim to have what they don't have. And exactly because of that, their product works on the market. The next contestant pretends to have everything and at the same time denies he copied anyone in particular. Adopted into service with the People's Liberation Army of China in 2024, the J-35 appeared in 2 variants, a carrier-based version for aircraft carriers and a land-based version for the Air Force. An internal bay holds 4 PL-15 air-to-air missiles. The engine, the Chinese-made WS-19 with thrust vectoring, the silhouette of the J-35, the fuselage profile, the wing shape, the position of the air intakes and weapons bays, almost identical to the American F-35. Not similar, almost identical. Chinese military sources explain this as common principles of 5th-generation aerodynamics. American sources call it something else, but China doesn't comment. Production, about 50 units according to Western intelligence estimates as of 2025. That's far less than the F-35, but the process is rolling. Exports, Pakistan in the final stage of negotiations for 40 units. The price is about $80 million. The F-35 costs $110 million and comes with American sanction requirements attached. The J-35 comes without those strings. The biggest question about the J-35 is real-world stealth performance. There's no independent testing, no Chinese-released data, and Western intelligence estimates vary wildly. When weaponry is copied from photographs, leaks, and articles, the small detail that makes the original work is often lost. Whether that's the case with the J-35, we'll find out when it meets a real adversary in the air. That already happened with China's previous attempt, the J-20. The aircraft has been in mass service for 8 years now, and it has one strange feature. The Chengdu J-20 took its first flight in 2011 and entered service in 2017. By current estimates, between 200 and 250 units have been built, the most mass-produced 5th-generation fighter in Asia. The original engines were Russian AL-31F. All new J-20 units now receive the Chinese WS-10C engine with thrust vectoring. Radar cross-section, or RCS, of the J-20 is estimated by Western sources at around 1/100th of a square meter. For comparison, the American F-22 has an RCS of about 1/10,000th of a square meter, a factor of 100 difference. That means the F-22 appears on radar like a ping-pong ball while the J-20 appears like a tennis ball. Both are stealthy, but the second is 100 times more visible than the first. The peculiarity of the J-20 is its rear aspect. Photographs taken from below and behind during parade flyovers show the engine exhaust nozzles protruding from the fuselage without the special shaping needed to suppress thermal and radar signature. From the front, the aircraft is stealth. From the back, it's an ordinary modern fighter. In air combat, this means the following. The J-20 can approach unseen and strike, but the moment the enemy ends up behind it, the J-20 becomes as visible as any other Chinese aircraft. This is incomplete stealth. In the broader Pacific picture, the J-20 is a serious regional threat to Taiwan and to American carrier groups, not a global threat. But within 1,200 miles of Chinese bases, it sets the rules. And against this Chinese threat, the Americans had to work very hard to remain leaders of the export fighter market. The F-35 Lightning II is the most mass-produced fifth-generation fighter in the world, 1,100 units delivered by 2025 with 19 countries operating it. 3 variants in one program, A for traditional air forces with conventional runways, B for short takeoff and vertical landing for Marines and British carriers, and C for American naval carriers. 1 airframe, 3 modifications, common avionics, and unified software for all of them. Real combat use began in 2018. Israel used the F-35 for strikes in Syria and Iran, air-to-ground missiles, precision attacks against air defense sites and storage depots. The American Air Force used it in Iraq against the remnants of ISIS. A British F-35 from the carrier Queen Elizabeth flew operations in the eastern Mediterranean in 2021. Unit cost, $110 million. Operating cost per flight hour, $36,000. That's 3 times more expensive than an F-16. Total program cost across the life cycle is estimated at $1.5 trillion, the most expensive military program in human history. The leading critics inside the United States in 2025, Elon Musk and the Secretary of Defense, called the program a financial pit and proposed shutting it down at 2,000 units. The program continues. For an export fifth-generation fighter, the world right now has 2 options: the F-35 from the Americans or the Su-57 from the Russians. Each carries its own political price tag, and exactly because of that, the Russian aircraft, which initially nobody took seriously, became a real global market alternative by 2025. The PAC-FE program began in 2002 as Russia's response to the American F-22. By 2010, the first prototype, the T-50, took to the air. By 2020, the aircraft entered service under the designation Su-57. Today, by various estimates, between 30 and 60 units are in service. The production line is being scaled up, and the second-stage engine program called Izdeliye 30 entered serial production in 2024. The combat use in the special military operation is its own story. The Su-57 was used to launch Kak-59 and Kak-69 Grom missiles at Ukrainian targets from over 60 miles away. The aircraft did not enter the engagement zone of Ukrainian air defense. It operated in standoff mode as an airborne launch platform for long-range missiles. This is not a classical fifth-gen dogfight, but it is real-world use under modern war conditions against modern intercept systems, and the aircraft survived. Technologically, the Su-57 made a different bet. Not maximum stealth, but super maneuverability. RCS is around 0.4 of a square meter, 40 times more visible than the J-20, and 10 times more visible than the F-35. But thrust vectoring on 2 axes, which lets the aircraft pull maneuvers, Pugachev's Cobra at near supersonic speeds, that no Western fifth-gen fighter can match. In a classical close-range fight, the Su-57 holds the advantage. The only question is whether it ever gets to close range, or whether it gets shot down by a missile from 125 miles before it does. Algeria, in 2025, became the first foreign customer, 14 units. India and Iran are next in line. This is the first Russian fifth-generation fighter with a real export contract, and it's a market shift. And yet in first place on this ranking stands an aircraft that was never sold to a foreign buyer. The aircraft that defined what we even mean by fifth generation, and the aircraft that has never been shot down in air combat. If you've been listening carefully, you already know which one. This is the aircraft against which the rules were written, the rules every other fifth gen is built against. The first serial stealth fighter the world ever knew. The F-22 Raptor entered service with the United States Air Force in 2005. Production was closed in 2011. A total of 187 serial aircraft plus 8 pre-production units were built, 195 aircraft in total. All of them are in the United States Air Force. It has never been exported. The Obey-Stevens Act of 1998 banned the export of the F-22 for reasons of preserving technological superiority. Israel asked. The United Kingdom asked. Australia and Japan asked. The answer to all of them was no, without exception, without compromise. When the American Congress refuses to move on a specific weapon system for 15 straight years, that's either politics or it's real superiority. With the F-22, it's the second. Radar cross-section, 1/10,000th of a square meter. On radar, the size of a ping-pong ball at 12 miles. Maneuverability thanks to two Pratt & Whitney F-119. Engines with thrust vectoring is so far ahead that during red flag exercises in the early 2000s, the F-22 against all other fighters posted a kill ratio of 1 to 140. That's a simulation, not a real combat record, but the order of magnitude shows the gap. Cruise speed without afterburner, Mach 1.82. That means the F-22 can travel from one point to another faster than the speed of sound, without burning fuel like a regular fighter on afterburner. Combat altitude, 65,000 feet. Range of the M120 AMRAAM missile, 100 miles. In real combat, the F-22 has been used sparingly, a handful of strikes in Syria in 2014, and the Chinese balloon shoot-down in 2022. This isn't a kill count. This is the statistic of how few targets ever rose to its level. And that's the point of the F-22. It wasn't built to fight a war. It was built so the war doesn't start. Subscribe to support the channel. Next episode, every stealth bomber in the world. From the B-2 Spirit at $2 billion apiece to the new B-21 Raider that the United States revealed to the world. In December of 2022 and first flew in November of 2023. And a few aircraft we still know almost nothing about,